Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're listening to 27 Degrees SAG, the Galactic Center. I'm your host, Kim Lowe. I'm sorry we got off to a little bit of a rocky start here and we missed our live time mark, but we made it. And we're going to jump right into the show. We have got a wonderful guest tonight, straight from New York. Her name is Joanne Angel BarryColon, and she is here. We're going to be talking about holistic um I'm like, oh my God, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about holistic health and fitness. And she has this wonderful way of combining the spiritual with the physical. And that's exactly what everybody is trying to do in, let's just say, a very graceful manner. But we need some guidance sometimes because, especially light workers, tend to have so much on the spiritual side that their physical nature sometimes needs grounding, needs to be exercised. We also need to understand how the physical body works along with all the other dimensions. So let's just bring her on. Hello, Joanne. How are you? Thanks so much for coming in.
I am so excited to be here, considering all. Very excited. Thank you for the amazing introduction.
Yes.
Yes. So,
And
when we think about holistic and the physical and the spiritual, bringing them together, what were you going to say?
exactly that. Exactly that. So I was going to ask you how you really kind of decided to combine the two, or when was your awareness that we needed to combine the two so that we could basically have some kind of a template to go on?
Well, that's a really good question. And to start off with, I didn't decide any of that. And what I mean by that is through spirit, back almost a year ago to the date of March 12th, when my mom had crossed over, she had become my guide and guided me through so many different paths and journeys in regards to, as I was a personal trainer for almost the last 30 years, the last 10 years, she has really helped transition my whole journey as a personal trainer to a holistic personal trainer, bringing into the whole concept between the mind, body, and spirit. I mean, when we think about just spirituality, we always speak about mind, spirit. But when you think about personal training and personal trainers, they really only help their clients on the level of the body. And being that I had all these different modalities that she introduced me to, and also my personal training experience for 30 years, my big question was, well, what am I doing with these two different services? And am I working with them separately? And she guided me in regards to, you're going to blend them together. You're going to bring the spiritual and the physical and bring them into one. And that's what I've been doing since, is bringing them into one and helping my clients embody their bodies. So when they are in that process of wanting to, the old term that I don't use much, wanting to lose weight, I use the term release weight. It's not just about them wanting to drop the 10, 15, 30 pounds, 50 pounds. It's really understanding where that weight is connected to on a emotional, and whether or not they're really ready to dig into those emotions that are trapped bodies, deep rooted from probably childhood and even past life, that they came to this lifetime to really work through. And when they're really ready to do that deeper work is when they'll actually be prepared to tap into the mind, body, and spirit, embodying the emotions that they've been carrying. And then that's when I can create a prescription plan that's going to help them release the weight that they want. Because ideally, I do want to make sure I'm honoring the reason why they come to me, which is their reason is weight loss. And my process is, well, there's more to it than just the weight that you see on your body. It really is about the emotions that we carry, that connection, the physical, mental, the emotional, the spiritual.
Yes, exactly. And do you think that there are better times when the universe supports this release than perhaps other times of your life or an alignment? And I'm talking about, the planets and astrology and things like this. Do you feel as though there is a specific time where the universe supports this for you?
Yes, and that's a really great question. What I want to turn to first is when the universe does not support, because I think it's easier to go that direction than to really dive into when the universe does support. And when the universe does not support, it's usually when we have a variety of planets, and three planets right off the back, which would be Jupiter, the planet of expansion. When we think of expansion, not only does, let's say, our career expands or our money expands or relationship expands, but also body weight expands. So one is more likely to put on weight during a Jupiter retrograde. The same thing goes for when Mercury is in retrograde, and Mercury retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year. So that's a lot of time where one may higher risk of or not risk, but a challenging time for them to focus on releasing weight, because that's when the emotions may be surfacing more. And then we also have Venus, when Venus goes retrograde as well, because Venus is all about our body, the relationship we have with our body, and how we either love our body or we are constantly in that internal dialogue of shaming. And when we're in the mindset of shaming our body, the things we say, whether we're saying it out loud or just to our internal dialogue, are the things we're going to create. So if we are constantly looking in the mirror, like pulling on our hips and complaining about how big our hips are, the universe can only give us what we're focused on. So if we are here trying to release the inches from the hips, but yet at the same time we're so focused on them being so big, in that period of that retrograde is when they're going to not do what you want them to do, because one is sabotaging themselves by their internal dialogue versus what they are truly looking to do, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I see. I can see how you are correlating that together. When the planets are in retrograde, I think that the result isn't as much on the outside, but I think it's a great time to do the inner work, because when those planets do happen to spin retrograde, it really focuses on your beauty within. And I think that that's where you can unlock and really research the different dimensions, as far as your emotional dimension, and what in the trauma and the things that perhaps you are keeping the weight on because you can't handle any attention. Perhaps you have been, your boundaries have been crossed at some time when you were little. And
Exactly.
yeah, and so that's a great time to work on the within, the whys, what's going on. I like that. So I think that you can really work on releasing, whether it's releasing trauma or preconceptions or beliefs during that time, which is wonderful work. And then when it goes direct, you can start seeing results.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. And it's
yeah.
also too, like you said, it's that mindset that we have. So when we are in those retrograde periods, as you're saying, it's about reflecting, not so much about doing. And also when we can understand that that period of time may not be the time to do the releasing process. It may be the time to reflect, to review. So once the planets start to go forward again, then that's the opportunity of what do we learn during the retrograde period about ourselves, about the relationship that we have with our body, because that's a really important relationship that we have. And many have a very displeasing relationship with us when we think about it. You know, so it's a great time to do that reflection of, why do I carry this weight? Why? And even important, like, what was the reason why I called in the weight? Because we call in that weight. There's a reason why that weight shows up. And we have to honor that period of time to why we called it in. What did it help us for? Because it helped because we called it in. It helps for something. And we have to honor it and respect it as well.
Absolutely. And I feel as though Mars is a great planet to really kind of align yourself up with, where is Mars? Because Mars is really, it's the fire within, it's the action. And if you have to increase your metabolism so that you can use that fire to, you know, help you release, or perhaps to get to those stubborn areas, you can use that action of that Mars provides and supports you with. So I have noticed throughout 30 years that I've been doing this, when I see Mars coming over the ascendant and into the first house in astrology, Western astrology we're talking about right now, it's a wonderful support for beginning that release system and your physical protocol and putting a program into place. Also, when Saturn comes in, Saturn's the restrictive planet. Saturn's the one that makes you, you know, kind of, instead of expanding, you get a little bit smaller. And when Mars and Saturn kind of conjoin in your chart as well, you've got a lot of support from the cosmos, from really getting or seeing some great results. How do you feel about that?
I think you're just right on track when we think about the whole process of how, in reference to Mars helping us out, because it is a fire energy. It is a fire. It's about action. And then in reference to Saturn being how we structure ourselves, how we can shrink ourselves at that time, you know. And when we think about the energies combining, let's say, astrology with also our chakra system.
Yeah.
Because the chakra system itself, when we think about Mars energy and taking action, where this is where the individual may have that challenging time at that time when Mars is in favor of helping us. Whereas if our sacral chakra is blocked, that might prevent the individual from taking the action that Mars is helping them with. So it's really important. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the sacral chakra, where it's located, what it responds to, in case some followers don't know what that's all about.
Definitely. Well, to start off with, sacral chakra literally lives right below the belly button. And when we think about the sacral chakra, it's responsible for creating. It's where we are birthed, literally, we literally birthed there. And it's all responsible for our confidence, being empowered, masculine and feminine energy. But then in addition to, it's also responsible for how we judge ourselves, how we blame, how we shame, and the guilt we hold on to. So if we're carrying more of that energy versus the confidence and the masculine, feminine, and the empowerment, even if Mars is really in a great space for us, if we have all of that shame, blame, and guilt, it blocks that energy from flowing, which is one of the reasons why it's so important that once one does know their astrology, that they check into their chakras so that their chakras are cleared so they can take advantage of the fact that Mars is in a great for them at that time to do the firework, to release the energy so they can see the results they're looking to see. So it does work hand in hand in regards to that connection of understanding well, this is in favor for me in my astrology chart. Everything is awesome, but why am I still not seeing the results? And that's where the energy work comes into play in reference to checking in. How are they judging themselves? What actions are they taking? Because even if they're taking, they're also at the same time, they have that sabotaging conversation where, I blame this, or I'm guilty of this, or I'm ashamed of this. That really blocks the energy.
So how would one person know if any chakras are blocked or not?
Love the question. And that the best answer to that question is, if things externally are not in alignment, where you're feeling as though, let's say, you're doing everything you can be doing in regards to watching what you're eating, you're working out as well as you can be, you're managing your stress level as well as you can be, but yet things are still not flowing, then there's something deeper. There's something on a deeper level that needs to be pulled from one chakra or another to do that deeper layer wound work. Now, when we also talk about the sacral energy, we're talking about our inner child and our connection that we have with mom and ourselves, and also that connection, which this goes a little deep, that connection that mom had during the time when she was conceiving the child. If there's anything that was going on with mom that might have been a lower vibration at the time, the baby itself carries that. That's in the baby's womb that the baby now has to work through to clear that energy. So it's not just about our own energy. It's now about really understanding your mom's energy at the time of conception. How was mom's pregnancy? How was the whole 9 months? How was the labor? And then in addition to talking about oneself, how is that one's whole concept and relation cycle? So there's so many different layers to go through that. Yes, the astrology is a must know. We must know that, but then we also have all this other information that we need to know so we can better understand why something may not be flowing the way we think, the way we expect it to, because we're doing everything right, but still something's not flowing.
Right, exactly. And there's so many people who I call them moon children, and beginning something on a full moon is really not recommended. We're celebrating what we accomplished in the last 30 days. So today we have a Pisces new moon, and it is hooking up with Jupiter, and we have got this wonderful pairing of Mars and Venus and Pluto, and they are literally all at the same degree, and they're all stacked on top of each other, and they are having this new energy and this new push that's literally going to push them into Aquarius on the 5th of March. And so they are waving goodbye to Capricorn, and Capricorn, well, at least Mars and Venus is. Pluto's going to hang out with Capricorn for a little bit
Pluto's
more.
Going to do some more work.
Yeah, got to do some more work. But the fun part about this pairing of Mars and Venus, they are the lovers of astrology, the male and the female coming together. And that, I think, is one of the most important concepts that we can use, aligning male and female circuits within ourselves. And so in saying that, as far as balancing and aligning, it doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish, because you've brought up some wonderful deep topics and alignments that are concerned with just that chakra. But I'm saying, even if you're a writer and you are blocked, you had the idea and all of a sudden you sit down and nothing's flowing, nothing's coming to you. you had this concept, and all of a sudden, all as you can do is doubt that, number one, you should be writing it down, or number two, you should be typing it, or that it's even a good idea. And so it's like you're just totally out of alignment with your project. And this is something that I hear a lot. Or I also hear, I really want to conceive. How do I make that happen? And it's basically getting into your alignment. So with all of this going on, let's talk about the chakras. Let's talk about your expertise and how you like to align them.
Love it, love it. And I'm really excited that you mentioned about trying to conceive, because in the past, I'd say 15 years, I helped at least a half dozen women conceive by the process of starting to embody and becoming more in love with who they are, with their body, and having that connection and becoming more aware with their chakra system, and recognizing that even if your system is perfectly aligned right now, doesn't mean 3 hours or 4 hours from now it will still be perfectly aligned. Because through the different people and different experiences we have from hour to hour, our chakra system can become a little stagnant. An example, before we came on live just now, you and I were experiencing some behind the scenes stuff. And that could have created a lot of insecurities on my end, a lot of doubt. I don't even imagine what was going on in your head. But just in everyday things where it's really important to connect with the chakra system and ask ourselves, be mindful of, okay, if something is not in alignment, if I'm experiencing or attracting this lower vibration energy in this moment, that means there's something that my energy has attracted that energy. So it's really important to check in very quickly. And one does not have to go through this whole, well, let me check out all 7 chakras and see which one is blocked. It's just a matter of connecting with the root chakra. And I say the root chakra because the root chakra is the main chakra that connects us to the earth. And when we can literally bring ourselves back to earth and not be so much in a spacey land, such as many of us Pisces, like myself, we can literally get ourselves grounded quickly and then refocus our direction to what it is we're looking to accomplish at that very moment, where we don't get frazzled or distracted or overwhelmed or fear sets in. Because when those emotions show up, the next thing to show up is fear. And once we have fear in any situation, our chakra system closed down because we're in fear. And that throws us all off altogether. So we could just bring ourselves back, just connecting. And the easiest way to connect with the root chakra, because I'm sure our viewers are like, well, how do we do this? Easiest way, just to imagine that your feet are literally touching the ground, and that ground is connected with all the roots of different trees, and that you make that connection with earth, and that you can really feel your weight from one foot to the other, calibrating to find its balance. Very simple to do, where once you feel like you got that calibration, you can literally like just slightly lift one leg off the floor and see that you can still be balanced. And when you can, you now know you have balanced out your chakra system because you are in balance. You're not tipping over. You're literally balanced. And that's the easiest and quickest way to bring yourself back if in case we get distracted, we get thrown off course. Something happens where, life happens, and it's part of our journey. It's part of the experience on how we can bring ourselves back where we don't get thrown off on a tangent of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then this is happening. And before you know it, you make the story up in your head of this small little thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of times when you are, let's just say, your partner, you're partnered up, or you're working on a project with someone, and you're working so closely that you're both in, you're both in each other's aura a lot, and you may actually be taking on their fear or their doubt, and they may be draining your courage and draining you and pulling you out of balance. So it's really good to know. I have this trick that I do, and it's like with a pendulum or a necklace, and it goes around, and you can spot your energy centers as you're going up your body and the crown of your head as well. And I've taught this to a lot of people. In fact, Sheila is in the chat room. Hello, Sheila. Hello, Ivy. Hi, Mr. Bill. Hello, Carla. How's everybody doing? And so I've taught that for a long time. You must protect and you must keep your boundaries. Even when you are in a marriage, if you're a mother, even if you are going, into the subway, you've got to really protect your alignment and your energy, because people who want to can literally, drag you down, suck your energy out. And you're like, gosh, I was just trying to have a great day. And all of a sudden, here I am. I'm like a frazzle. I become unglued, and I don't know how to put myself back together. So in a nutshell, you gave us a great quick tip on how to really ground ourselves again and get stabilized so that we can continue in our day. We've got a question, and the question says, Ivy says, I'm a Scorpio, and all those planets that you're talking about are in Scorpio. I am physically struggling and mentally trying to stay positive. So, number one, just like, what Joanne was talking about, check your chakras, right?
Yes.
Check the chakras. Okay. So if she has a lot of this water energy, and as you as a Pisces probably really can relate to her, do you have any words of advice for her?
Oh, definitely. I mean, she mentions that she's physically struggling. So the first thing to physical struggle is, because she has so much water in her chart, it's very important to make sure you are moving your body every day, because that embodying your body physically, to move your body. So whatever physical struggles are, whether that physical struggle is pain or illness or disease, it's really important to understand what the body is actually trying to say to you in that state of struggle. Because when we have struggle, it just means something's out of alignment. And when something's out, it's again a moment to take, to reflect, ask, what's going on? What do I need to know about this? And what is the best thing I can do right now so I can bring myself back into balance?
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. And, I always say, talk to your body, because your cells are listening to you. They hear you. They hear you. They're listening. They understand. And when you have compassion for yourself and you're struggling and you're in pain, pain is making you aware that there is something there that needs to be addressed, okay, or needs to be released. Now, as far as astrology goes, I don't have your chart up, Ivy, but across the board, generally, we've got the South Node, which is known as the tail of the what do I want to say? The tail of the tiger. The tail of the tiger. The dragon. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the year of the tiger. It's the tail of the tiger is your South Node. And that is going through Scorpio right now. And usually when that tail comes through, or that South Node comes through, it is pulling you to the past. And it's the time to reflect about what went on in the past that has created blocks or blockages that are now ready to be released. And you have to really notice these, because they're so painful. So my first suggestion would be to work with someone who can hypnotize you and regress you to find out what exactly happened. Let's go to your north node. And the north node is going to give you your compass direction of where you want to align the body. So if we've got so much heaviness on the tail, it's almost like, it's almost like you're bottom heavy. You can't get up. You can't do anything because your tail has got so much weight to it. So we have to concentrate on that energy going to the north node, going into your Taurus, going into finances, going into, now because Uranus is there, going into accepting change, giving up control. These are some of the things that you need to kind of push your energy through. I also want to say, because Jupiter is now really affecting us on this new moon, Jupiter is going or in Pisces at this particular time. And the last time this happened was 12 years ago. Let's take you back, Ivy, 12 years ago, and see if you accumulated, you experienced anything that now seems to be either hiding in the body or perhaps blocking a system or blocking your ability to align, because that can affect the clarity, that can affect the physical, and that can also affect your intuition, because water signs, and Joanne will tell you, they're very intuitive.
Yes, we are very. Something to that, Kimler, in regards to what Ivy might be experiencing as well.
Yeah.
In reference to even going back to 12 years, but even reflecting to at what age she might have started feeling this experience for her. Like going back to that, because when I work with my clients, I right off the back have them connect to an experience from their childhood, whatever that age might have been. It might have been 7, could have been 9, but something back then created this experience where now, as we go through with the planets helping, this is what's surfacing up for her, so she can work on healing. So if she can get to that point of when she first started experiencing anything that might remotely look similar to this at whatever that age was, it might have been a trauma, it might have been a loss of a loved one that created this physical struggle with herself. And now with all this energy we have going, and I mean, if we think about it, the last 2 years for that matter has literally caused a flooding for many of us, where we are reflecting on different things that have taken place. And now here we are at this point in time where we're feeling in our bodies and we're embodying this. And it's like that tug of war on whether it's pain, illness, or disease, where it's really trying to get our attention so we can heal from that trauma that might have happened well into your childhood years.
Right. And let's not forget that the etheric body also needs to be considered when you have such a stellium. And especially in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the underworld. It's very easy for a stellium of Scorpio to open the portals to the underworld and to stream their intuition through that particular channel, or their healing through that particular channel as well. We have to see if that is on a positive note, or if that is on a negative note, or if you are being used by what I call a conglomerate on the other side that perhaps is so powerful it is feeding off of your pain spectrum. Does that make sense?
The other thing I'm hearing too, as you say that, what might be also happening for her is this: the physical struggle she's having may actually be due to all the energy we've been experiencing for the last 2 years, cosmically speaking. That the how I'm trying to say it so she can understand it. The energy is literally moving through her body at such a very rapid pace that it's creating more pain only because it's actually trying to be released. And sometimes what happens is that we will experience more pain before we start to feel better. And that could be very well where she might be right now, because she's really, really at the height of starting to get better, because this pain is so much of a struggle for her. So she may really be in that place of like she's less than a mile away from the light, is what I just heard. Less than a mile away from the light. So to like allow herself to breathe through the physical struggle that she's having, embody whatever it is she's learning from this. So rather than just focusing on the struggle, focus on what she's learning, what's coming through for her, how is her body responding. And when she takes on that, it becomes more like a curiosity, because she becomes more in tune to what's going on, and she'll actually learn something by time this physical struggle releases, is what I just heard for her.
That's very powerful and a great insight. Thank you for that, Joanne. We also have Sheila, and she says, others attach to me, and I oftentimes don't realize it until I'm drained. And then it's like, on with your bad self. She starts laughing.
Yes. Well, I love the fact that she actually says to be gone with your bad self, because she's recognizing that she's carrying other people's energies. And then she's also actually saying, you can go now. And that's really empowering and very powerful, because most people are not aware when they are actually carrying other people's energies, and they just feel fatigued about it. But she's realizing and recognizing, and she's actually saying, okay, I recognize you're here. I recognize it's not mine. Now it's time for you to go. And she's releasing it out, which is very powerful.
Very powerful. And a lot of times when people open up different portals, or they do have Klingons, I call them, or hitchhikers, people call them a lot of times. I really
energy vampires.
Energy vampires. I really do like to check the back area, just below the neck area there, because they do seem to reside, because you can't see them there. And, Scorpios can see shadows. They can see spirit. They're so in tune with energy, energy fields. And if they're on their back, they can't, you can't see them. You can't, your head is not on a swivel. And even if you look in a mirror, you will not be able to see them. They will go within and they will hide from you. So if you're carrying something, or someone, let's just put it that way, something is what I'm getting, but and something else is happening here, and that is that these artificial intelligence and these clonings and other, let's just say, cosmic beings, they cannot replicate how the finesse and the DNA and the network of the body. They can get close, but they cannot duplicate what we have and what we are all about. Now, we have been reactivated. We have had all the connections flowing in the human history. We have had that all taken away. We have been mixed with this experiment and that experiment. And so you can't really get this judgment going that your DNA is more pure than somebody else's DNA, or, being German is better than being Japanese, or whatever this is all going on here.
Exactly.
But there's a different component, a different energy field that makes you unique and makes you have different elements that in feng shui and in the Chinese chart that we work with. And the elements that you choose to surround yourself with can either add to the liquidation of your being and of your assets and everything else, or it can be more grounding, like earth energy and earth elements, or it can inspire you with more fire and things like that. But you have to work with the combination so that one doesn't put the other one out. You have to work in harmony and balance. And this is where, a feng shui consultation really helps. And every year, the combination needs to be tweaked a little bit because we have different, Earth is going through the same kind of breathing and the same kind of releasing and the same kind of different things. As you well know, different. This is a great time, by the way, because the opportunity or the energy field for blending and doing exactly what you're doing, Joanne, is coming into being highlighted, kind of like an open portal of this wonderful blend of spirituality and and the physical alignment, and getting as strong as you possibly can. I'd like to ask you a little bit if you had any advice to give light workers right now as far as how they can make their bodies stronger, other than the chakras that we talked about. What could you directly recommend to them?
Well, what's right behind me? I'm a huge advocate of weight training. Now, when we think about the whole process of health and fitness, the average woman spend a lot of time doing cardio. And cardio is great for the heart. There's a place for it. But when we speak about strength, when we speak about like literally making our bodies strong enough so our bodies can sustain whatever the environment has in store for us, strength training, whether we want to call it strength training, weight training, circuit training, HIIT training, whatever the theme, fad name may be, the idea is women and even men need to be lifting weights to help their bodies become stronger and healthier and get to that place where they are strong. They are strong mentally, and they are strong physically, and they are strong spiritually and also emotionally. Because when you actually connect with your body with weights, you got that connection. You're literally becoming aware of how your body moves, how your body feels in movement, how your body feels when it's still. And that's, from my point of view, an extremely important tool to have to help one become stronger. And as they become stronger, they literally become more confident in their own energy, and that as we were speaking on before, that masculine feminine energy, that pulling from both ends, we can work with it evenly because we are actually stronger in our own body. We're confident in our own body. So
let me ask you one question. As far as this resistance training, which is the weight that you are picking up, what is in the resistance that turns into the wonderful result, that accelerates the physical? What is it exactly?
That's a really interesting question. And I think the answer intuitively, what I'm hearing, is to start off with from the resistance. Because again, when you take somebody who's just starting out, resistance could just be their own body weight to start off with, where they're not actually holding an actual extra weight. But as they progress, resistance, that determination, consistency, the discipline, the desire the motivation, all of these things, the focus that comes into play when someone makes that decision that they are going to improve their strength with the help of resistance training. And I think all of those combined together actually helps us improve our strength, because when we are more focused, when we are disciplined, when we are committed, when we are motivated, it not just stems from lifting weights, but it's also everything we do in our daily life. We are in our body, we are focused on something, and we are strong minded. And I think that's the key word. Our mindset changes because we are strong minded, we are determined. So when you go into a gym and we'll use squats. Why not do squats? Let's talk about squats for a second. When a woman gets under a squat bar, whether it's just a 10-pound bar, or they're literally putting weights on that bar, before that bar, they first need to have their strategy to what they're going to do when they get there. They need to see it in their mind's eye that they've already squatted that weight. So it's the focus, it's the determination, the strength of knowing that once they come down to sit into the squat, they have to push that weight back up. So it's the game plan of being able to push through so they can bring that weight back up. And if they don't have all this in order before they actually attempt to lift that weight, it's a disaster waiting to happen, because they're literally getting the weight. And again, it doesn't matter if it's just a bar or a bar with weights on it that they're going to be lifting. So it's that whole strategy process to tapping into that strength of knowing that this is what they're going to do. And then the motivation, once you've done it, it's like, it's an adrenaline high. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And consistently repeating that routine week after week after week, then you start to see the results of it. And when you can look in the mirror and see yourself feeling stronger and being stronger, it's again, adrenaline. It's an adrenaline high because you are now a stronger version of yourself. And
so, yes, the frame that you have actually takes more of a 3D dimensional, which we are now, really understanding all the dimensions, that we are working with, and we're defining and adding lean, good, strong muscle to holding our frame in. Another thing I loved what you said was that you see it in your mind's eye, that the strategy part of that, because once you get in there and you start doing your weight training, and you come out and you go back into the real world, you have the confidence that, okay, that I can handle. There's a challenge that just flew into my face. I handled that weight like a pro. I did that. I lifted that. I did so many of those repetitions. This is going to be a piece of cake for me. Instead of letting it just totally knock you down, you know that you are strong enough with your frame and strong enough within yourself. And also mentally, you're stronger from just doing your physical workout and adding to your alignment in your body, that you are more powerful, and this is not going to knock you down. The things in life that
exactly.
you encounter, right?
Exactly, because your body is strong, your mindset is strong, and you can go the other way around. Your mindset is strong, your body is strong. And what we do in the gym, and it doesn't have to be in a gym, it could be someone's house that they're working out of. It doesn't have to be, this whole philosophy of like, I can only work out in the gym. No, you can work out in the home, you can work out in the park, whatever it is, wherever it is, you're lifting the weight. And when we speak on the weight, the weight doesn't have to be this extravagant, like, oh my God, heavy weight. Everyone has to start somewhere, but they also need to start somewhere where the weight is going to challenge them. If they're only going to lift up, let's say, a 3-pound weight, but yet their pocketbook might weigh 10 pounds, that 3-pound weight is not really going to get them to that strength they're looking for, that mindset. So it's really important to understand when we think about lifting weights. And for those women out there, understanding that when you're lifting weights, and I know that many women feel this philosophy of, oh my God, if I lift weights, I'm going to get big and bulky. Not true. Not true at all. Your body's only going to present itself to what it can do. The big and bulky goes beyond the natural ways of lifting. And you can work out 7 days a week and hours. And believe it or not, when you work out 7 days a week and hours of training, believe it or not, you actually sabotage the results because you're overtraining. And then your body, your muscles don't have any time to recover. So if you really want to get the best from your strength, from that mindset of knowing that whatever you do in the gym or wherever you're working out, and then going out into the real world, the idea of it is that you have to do it in moderation. Getting that prescription plan, as I like to call it, and knowing that these are my days I do what I do, and working out, give and take 45 minutes, doing it hard, hitting it hard, making sure the nutrition is on point, and going out into the real world. And when I say nutrition on point, I'm not speaking about that we have to be on a diet or restricting our calories or low fat carbs or high protein. Just balance for the individual, and having that mindset of being strong.
So Bill in the chat room says, I'm a cardio guy. He swims. So that's a type of resistance. The water is the resistant there, right?
Yes and no. And what I mean by that, again, this whole process between cardio versus weight training. Now, the difference here is, and this is a biggie, weight training has up to an 8-hour afterburn, meaning as long as you work out with the weights were at a high intensity where you actually lifted heavy for that person, you have 8 hours where your metabolism is going to be revved up and working for you. When you are doing cardio, whether it be a treadmill, elliptical, Zumba class, dance classes, or even swimming, once you're done with that activity, unless you're swimming with the weights, because they do have, I forget the actual term for it, but they do have like weight training in the water. So unless you're doing that in the water, once you're done doing that cardio activity, the afterburn is done. There is no afterburn. And there's a difference there. And specifically for women, more so for men, because men tend to have more muscle tissue anyway, naturally. Women do not. So for women, if you're going to exert your energy in your day, if you're limited, if you can only do 30 minutes, my suggestion would be use that 30 minutes of your time and lift the weights, because that weight training can also become an interval workout, which you're going to get the cardio in there as well, because you get your heart rate up and you get to bring the heart rate down, but then you also get the benefits of that 8-hour afterburn. If you're only spending your time doing 30 minutes of the treadmill or 30 minutes Zumba class, and believe me, I love Zumba class too, but we really have to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And if you're looking to see the results to shape your body so you can be stronger, a stronger body of you, lifting the weights is really the key component.
So getting back to when you are working out, and I think another very important aspect here is when you are, lifting and resisting, or even if you're dancing or even if you're swimming, you have got to have your breath working for you. And I think that is a universal key to our physical, let's just say, excelling physically, whether you're meditating or whether you are doing anything like that. I feel like it gives you the importance and it connects you to your breath as well. And getting that oxygen going, and the right time to breathe in, the right time to breathe out, whatever exercise you decide to do, it also brings you back to the very basics of just breathing and honoring the breath, right?
Yeah, oh,
And
definitely.
yeah. Yeah. And that adds to your circulation. And we used to, let's just say, 70 years ago, we used to bring in cleaner oxygen, a more percentage of oxygen out of the air than we're getting right now. Our bodies are starved for oxygen. I've always said, oh my gosh, can't we have like oxygen tanks?
And now we do. And now we do. They literally sell them in the stores. Yeah. So now we do. Yes.
I know I should have invested in those. I came up with that, like, come on, can't we just, why do we have to have a prescription? Why do we, have to get sick, until we are allowed to have an oxygen tank? But actually, oxygen is so extremely important and so overlooked, when we talk about exercise or training or anything. But breathing, just like your posture or just like your stroke or just like what you're dancing on or your shoes or whatever the music is very important as well. And I think that just learning the breathing, when you go back out into the world to deal with what we need to all deal with, to be able to keep that breathing going properly keeps your head clear, right? Keeps that decision-making process easier and your memory sharp. And right?
Yeah.
And all the rest.
When we think about breathing, well, I mean, the average person, if they really took a moment, and I mean, we could do this right now too, is really check in. Are we holding our breath? And many literally are holding their breath when they're doing their work. They're literally sitting there in that state of anxiousness because they're holding their breath. When they're walking in the street, when they're driving their cars, we're holding our breath. We are not fully inhaling and exhaling because we are in a state of anxiousness. So it is really important to bring it back to the breath, bring it back to your just breathing. And it's a world of a difference. It's like, oh, is that what this feels like to
be relaxed?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. So, a lot of times we make vision boards. We had a show making vision boards and things like that. And it's a good thing when when you find yourself standing at the refrigerator or making that refrigerator handle a part of your life, to put a note on there, breathe first, drink water, do some things first before we crack open something or we open, or we eat something or a box or put that note on your pantry as well, before to make you aware,
the daily mindfulness of if I'm going to, whatever it is you're picking up, why am I eating this? Why am I drinking this? What is it going to do for my body? What is it going to do for my emotions? And when we get into that understanding of like, the term I use, feeding and fueling, and we want to do both. We don't want to overlook the feeding part because the feeding is actually attached to the inner child. So we do want the feeding, but we need to understand, am I going to fuel here or am I feeding? And if I'm doing a lot of feeding, how often am I in the emotion feeding versus the fueling? And that too can correlate to why our bodies might be feeling what they're feeling, because if we're doing more feeding versus fueling, we're not fueling nutrients into the body. And that also clogs up the emotional process because we're doing a lot of feeding. We're pushing down our emotions versus allowing the emotions to show up in regards to like, why is this showing up? Why is it that I want to grab that cappuccino versus that glass of water? And when we can have that relationship, that conversation with why we're doing what we're doing and become more aware of it, it's mindfulness.
Good point. Really great point. I feel like feeding your emotional state is it's so perpetuated in our society, and they put it wherever they can, to give you visuals, constantly of feeling that, no, I want to say feeding those particular states of anxiety or loneliness or, celebratory things or whatever that is. So,
And
yeah.
I want to tap on something, as you say, loneliness. And that is, in reality, we are never alone. When we can really capture into our astrology and our planets, and also that connection that we have with spirit, we are never alone. So when we are sitting back saying we are alone or we're lonely, that's an invitation to recognize that, wow, I have this major relationship with a spirit world that maybe I'm not connected to. And maybe this is an opportunity that when I am feeling lonely, to dive into that kind of spirit and see what spirit has to at that time.
Exactly. And then we can go into, very, very easy, short meditations that really will connect with the above and with source. And that's very aligning too with everything that we are doing and trying to do as well, and tap into creativity or tap
Yes.
into, a clarity that we have, so that we can either work on something or create something or learn something, learn a new language or a new instrument or something fun that we can put our time into, um, feeding our creativity or feeding our intelligence or
Sure.
up leveling a lot of different ways. That's a great thing to kind of bring out as well. Well, we have gone over, but we're not really, because we got a late start. So actually we have a 60-minute program, which I'm very proud of. And I just want to thank our wonderful guest, Joanne Angel BarryColon, for coming on today. And how can people get a hold of you if they would like some advice or a consultation with you?
The easiest way is through email, and that is healingwithin76@gmail.com.
There you go. healingwithin76@gmail.com. And perhaps she can give you some advice as how to draw up the best program for yourself as we're starting out this new Pisces moon, when we are blending in some new things and blending in a new perspective on our spirituality and our physicality, and making you know but Pisces really do not see the boundaries on anything. And it's so wonderful because, a lot of people do. But this is the time to really get a great rounded program going for yourself, so that you can release what needs to be released. Tell the blockages and the obstacles, yes, go away. I picked the card of Ganesh here, and there's been some really clearing going on, and whether it's clearing going on, you know peace and war both have their ways of clearing, and I know that's hard to wrap around, and that's for another show.
Yes, when we think about that one, that peace and war, we can also connect that to ourselves, because again, when whatever we're seeing externally is a mirror reflection of what's going on within us collectively, and every one of us are having that sort of like war and peace with ourselves, which is why we're seeing it externally. So
Right.
it is a major connection there.
Exactly. And do you have a card that you'd like to pick for us today?
Sure, sure. And I'm not sure if you're aware that I actually created this deck. And as Kimberly was saying before, when we tap into spirit, helps us with our creativity. And thanks to my mom in spirit world, this is how my deck of cards came about. So
Wow.
very excited. Yes, very excited. So I'm going to pull a card, And with my cards, each card has 3 elements: a chakra color, a number, and also an affirmation. So we get a lot from one card. So let's see what we have in store for tonight. Pulling it out, and I'm loving it. Our message is to surrender.
Oh, you've got that color on.
Yes, yes. Surrender. The chakra is the heart chakra. So when we think about the heart chakra, it's all about connecting within, falling in love with ourselves, becoming more consciously aware of our body and also our mind, body, and spirit, and our emotions for that matter. The number is 68. So we think 6 is about the healing we're doing and also the collective energy in numerology. It is the entire year is surrounded by how we heal, how we're nurturing, how we're healing all of our relationships, including our body. The number 8 is about abundance and harmony, bringing it all together. Works out to be a 5, because when in numerology, we bring every number down to a single digit, except a master number. This is not a master number. So that 5 energy is that this is your year to change. This is your year to change and embark in something really new, brand new, and very different. So you have to surrender whatever resistance you may have to whatever it is that's going on in your life right now. Recognize that whatever was working before, there's something new coming in, and this is the year to do it. So it's a great message.
Wow, it is. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. All right, everybody, it's time to close the show. Until next week, may the angels protect you and guide you. And thank you so much to our special guest, Joanne Angel BarryColon, for coming in from New York. We love
Thank
you.
you so much.
Yeah, and please come back again, okay?
Will do.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming into the chat room. And Jesse, I saw you were there as well. Thank you so much to Sheila. And thank you, Ivy. I hope you feel better. And thank you to Carla. And thank you to Bill. Keep that swimming going as well. All right, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Good night.